Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing how the build for Fulgrim's return has already begun. A spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be discussing events from the Warhammer 40k novel Renegades Lord of Excess by author Rich McCornmick. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, so obviously a few months ago now, we got the announcement of the Emperor's Children no longer being in the Chaos Space Marine Codex. They got a little rules release to tide them over, and the tease that a codex may be some way off in the far distant future. And that all of course immediately sounded the alarm bells for a Fulgrim return, as it's the same thing that transpired with the World Eaters previously, when they received their codex with Angron's return to the tabletop. Now of course Fulgrim, if he does return, wouldn't do so until the big end of edition event. At least you'd assume so, as that is pretty much always the way that these things happen. That nothing of note will really take place until we get to that edition ending campaign. But it certainly appears the build for the Phoenicians' return has already begun, with us receiving 2 Emperor's Children novels since then, with the Lords of Excess and Eidolon the Auric Hammer. And this definitely feels like a bit of a break from the norm for me, because I really don't remember the Emperor's Children receiving the spotlight and their own novels in a long time. And we've discussed the Lord of Excess a little previously, but as a recap, it was here that we would get a big hint on how Fulgrim is on the way, and in fact closer than ever. The story follows a warband of the fractured Emperor's Children Legion named the Adored, and their commander Xantine. As usual with Chaos warbands, there's a constant level of distrust and backstabbing bubbling beneath the surface, vying with that old sense of bond and ties of the Legion. And for Xantine, his closest brother and main counsel remained a noise marine named Vavisk. And it was as Xantine went to speak with Vavisk within his chamber that not only did we get a unique view of noise marines outside the battlefield, spending their time singing and orchestrating an instrument known as the Organ of Bliss, listening for the song of Slaanesh across the warp, but where we'd also get our revelation regarding their Primarch. It was Vavisk who called a halt to the song, quieting the Organ of Bliss and hauling his warp-racked body to its feet. Xantine greeted him as he rose. "Quite the composition, Vavisk," he said, inspecting the blades that jutted from his greaves with an air of practiced nonchalance. Once, he would have embraced his brother, savouring the touch of a cultured warrior. But even in the relative privacy of the chamber, it wouldn't do to show such deference to a subordinate. Still, part of his body longed for the contact. Vavisk was his oldest friend, so much as that term still had meaning in a legion of pleasure seekers and hedonists. At the very least, of all the beings in the galaxy, it was Vavisk who had done the most for Xantine. Not the Legion selectors who plucked him from the noble schools of Chemos, nor his sergeants and captains of the Emperor's Children, nor even his dilettant Primarch. The Phoenician's attentions turned from his own children to pleasures beyond comprehension. It was Vavisk who was inducted into the Emperor's Children alongside Xantine. Vavisk who fought alongside him during the Great Crusade. Memories of fighting for the Corpse Emperor left a taste like ash in Xantine's mouth, but Vavisk's bravery and loyalty was a true prize from the conflict. It was Vavisk who had pulled him from the wreckage of Canticle City as Abaddon hurled his warship down on the world of Harmony. Were it not for his brother's intervention, Xantine would have been incinerated along with thousands of his fellow Emperor's children and millions of mortals, his remains joining the vast field of melted glass and biological matter that was all that remained of the once beautiful civilization on the planet. It was Vavisk who stood alongside him as Xantine turned on his warlord, using the strength of the demon sharing his body to decapitate Euphros, also once of the 3rd Legion, before he'd become Abaddon's lapdog. Xantine had taken the exhortation and run from the Black Legion, striking out on his own with his dearest brother at his side. And that was why it hurt to see Vavisk so addled. Yes, Xantine, they sing because we are close, closer than ever before, to finding our Primarch and uniting our Legion once more. It's not much, but it's absolutely a tease of things to come, a hint and sign that the Phoenician is indeed near. We have to remember the return of Fulgrim is quite different to most of his fellow traitor Primarchs after all. Perturabo and Mortarion have very much retained ironclad control of their legions. Lorgar too, except being within his own self-imposed isolation. Magnus has been back for so long it feels like he never really went anywhere. Omegon remains an intriguing mystery, believed dead during the Scouring, and Angron was banished upon Armageddon, locked within the warp until recently. Whereas Fulgrim has simply chosen to leave his legion, bored with the war. His location in truth unknown, believed to be distracted and immersed within the depravity and sensations of Slaanesh. And thus it's the Noise Marines of the Emperor's Children, who are very unique, important in regards to the return of their Primarch, tied as they are to the song of the galaxy, of Slaanesh, the song that only they can truly hear, that only they know is growing in strength, getting them closer to their ultimate goal, the reunion with their Primarch. And we've discussed this tease previously a little, but the more I've thought about it, and with recent events, I feel stronger than ever that this song is the key. The likelihood of it being the Emperor's Children who find the Palace of Slaanesh and somehow pull their Primarch into returning is of course unlikely. But it's the growing strength of the song, combined with the knowledge that an Emperor's Children Codex is on the way, that just adds to the weight of it. That this rhythm and drumbeat is building for a reason, getting closer and closer to the time that Slaanesh, in all likelihood, unleashes Fulgrim back on the galaxy. It's a war where Tzeentch has already seen Magnus move his planet of the sorcerers back to the material realm, where Nurgle has watched Mortarion unleash the Plague War, where Khorne has used Angron to fuel his rage out across the galaxy. And now Slaanesh prepares for their act, their part to play, and that is why this song is building. And it's surely no coincidence we recently received the Eidolon novel as well, with Eidolon the Auric Hammer. Despite being set within the Horus Heresy, and the Emperor's Children's path towards terror, it's very much a character piece for Eidolon, laying a groundwork for this character moving forward. His contentious relationship with his Primarch, his desire to lead his legion, that it is his legion. And we know Eidolon is essentially the de facto legion commander within the current 40k universe, as shattered a legion as it's come to be, with Eidolon commanding by far the largest warband, and being the head of the Phoenix Conclave. And it feels like this novel has dropped now, specifically to build up Eidolon, as that figurehead amongst the legion, develop that contentious relationship with his Primarch. We get to truly see the motivations of Eidolon here, from his point of view, and we'll break it down in depth more another day, when more people have had a chance to read it, but it really fleshes out his self-belief, that it's his legion, and it really solidifies him being the successor to Fulgrim. For me, a necessary step in development for him to arrive on the 40k tabletop in that codex as well. And spoiler warning here for Eidolon the Auric Hammer, but Fulgrim does make an appearance in it, revealing that everything Eidolon goes through in that novel is largely thanks to Fulgrim forcing him through a game and test of temptation. In truth, wanting to put his Lord Commander Primus in his place, reminding him that he could break him, slay him again, any time he chooses, and that he's on his final chance. And sure, again, this may be set within the heresy, prior to the Siege of Terror, but it clearly is furthering the relationship between Son and Primarch, and also more importantly fleshing out Eidolon as the real main player moving forward for the Legion. And so we've got the Song of Slaanesh building to a crescendo, the prophesized return of the Primarch and reunion with the Legion. And now the development of the antipathy to which Eidolon holds towards his Primarch, but also a novel dedicated to him specifically, establishing him as the Legion's figurehead in the Phoenicians' absence, working as a great development piece for him to become involved within the 40k arena more. No longer just a name and cameo in Fabius Bile's novels, but a real figurehead himself, and a big player in the Legion's real return. And so this all very much feels like necessary steps towards the Phoenicians' return, that far from the Emperor's Children's expected arrival being a far off distant thing, that it's actually already happening right before our very eyes, that the song is continuing to build, and Eidolon is going to be a very big part when the Legion emerges once more. But as always everyone, what do you think? What other steps do you think we are going to see before the Emperor's Children Codex arrives? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow, and if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.